And it seems that supplementing in children with 10 milligrams makes quite a bit of difference.
I want Leo to tell me how my daughters, 3 years old and 8 years old, can become bigger and stronger. I don't want them to be giants, right? I don't want to give them mega doses of HGH, but I do want to make sure they have adequate IGF levels. But is too much IGF a dangerous thing in children? And what other supplements can we do to support this pathway and full growth?
Tony, it's not just about growth. For example, IGF-1 levels in youth determine the brain size in adulthood to some degree, and brain size is directly associated with IQ. It's really about development. If you have low IGF-1 and growth hormone levels in early childhood, you'll have less development in life in general. The main determinant of this is actually diet, the protein quantity in diet. I have a video about this also. I mean, there are some interesting things like we talked about before. Tony recently went to India, and in India, the amount of fecal matter on the streets actually causes people to be shorter in India. I have a video on that
And
too.
a lot of them are vegetarian. They're not having high protein.
Yeah,
intake, so
we
it's
just
not
talked
a
about that
blood-
first.
But also less protein means less IGF.
Yeah, no. The protein affects growth through IGF and growth hormone. So the first thing I thought about was protein. The second is, I'm just giving an example, even your environment, like the toxins in your environment, but also stress in a child's life. But we're not talking about height velocity only. Height velocity is a proxy for the health of the child. Children with worse health in a family will be shorter than children with tall health in a family. Usually, it's an indicator that something's going wrong. In a similar way to how people say like higher testosterone levels when you're older mean that you're healthier. Well, maybe because your body's able to produce the high testosterone level. In the same way, children able to grow is an indicator usually that they have those growth networks work. Anyway, what we want to talk about in this video is there's a lot of supplements, there's a lot of dietary approaches and supplementation approaches that I think could be useful for children. Here we want to talk about IGF-1. So IGF-1 is insulin-like growth factor 1 or insulin growth factor 1. Is it insulin-like growth factor 1 or insulin?
Insulin-like growth.
I thought so, yeah. Okay, so I rarely study IGF-1. But the point is, IGF-1 levels increase depending on like protein quantity in the diet, but also some supplements. So for example, a lot of us know that zinc has effects on IGF-1 signal. Zinc supplementation certainly has effects on the serotonergic system that the brain relies on for neurogenesis, even in growth. Now, zinc supplementation is pretty interesting. 10 milligrams of zinc appear to cause more IGF-1 increases in children than higher levels. Interestingly, zinc supplementation doesn't clearly cause IGF-1 increases in adulthood, but the increases in IGF-1 are quite significant. I mean, they can be like 19 points in some of the studies.
And 10 milligrams is easy to achieve. That's an amount that a child, if they're eating a complete diet and have some foods that are rich in zinc, they could get 10 milligrams.
Yeah, but the standard
But then again, children don't eat a lot of food, a lot of volume of food. So, if they're not eating enough of the zinc-containing foods, then probably supplementing it.
We're thought that we don't get into what's called like a state where we have too much zinc. They don't get into a point where they have too much zinc until they reach about 40 milligrams of consumption from foods during the day. But it's not always clear that this is really a limit for most people. But most people consume between 20 to 35 or so. And it seems that supplementing in children with 10 milligrams makes quite a bit of difference. Now, if you want to supplement your child with it, you might want to look for a methionine-based zinc or a zinc picolinate, which are both more absorbable. Another thing we didn't mention also is the duration of supplementation. So you don't want to have your child or yourself supplement for a short period of time. This seems that the longer the zinc supplementation is, specifically above 8 weeks, the more the representative increase in IGF-1 occurs. Also, as a side note, although I do think adults should also supplement with zinc, if you have liver issues, you may specifically want to supplement with zinc. It seems quite interesting. As liver damage occurs and the liver is less functional, it starts to get depleted of zinc and consequent reactions in the body. So you might want to take supplements also if you have liver damage. What I wanted to compare this to, zinc clearly increases IGF, or zinc supplementation clearly increases IGF-1 in children. What about other supplements? And there are a few other supplements we can consider, but one is a popular one among bodybuilders called astragalus extract. Astragalus extract is actually approved by the South Korean government for treatment, HT042. It's actually an extract of, I think, 3 plant products, but astragalus has several molecules that might be at play. Now, interestingly, in rodent studies, astragalus seems to increase height velocity, growth, via IGF-1. But in human studies, the IGF-1 increase doesn't seem significant enough to explain the increase in growth. There may be an effect on growth hormone as well, but what I wanted to draw your attention to here is the effect on telomerase. So astragalus extract, certain molecules within astragalus extract can increase the activity of an enzyme in your body called telomerase. Telomerase extends telomeres, which wrap the ends of our chromosomes. This means that our cells can divide more the longer our telomeres are. The more telomerase is active, basically the life cycles of cell division can be longer, which means if you had higher telomerase levels in early life, like when you're 3 years old, you could potentially be a much larger or significantly larger person than you would have been, because your cells now can divide much more while you're in your youth. On the other hand, if you increase telomerase in adulthood, most molecules that increase telomerase in adulthood have a corresponding increase in cancer development, because this is telomerase shortening over time prevents your cells from dividing, potentially protecting you as you age, because some of your cells get damaged. Those cells, when they replicate, they can turn into cancerous tumors. So, or otherwise, but cancerous in general. So you don't want high telomerase levels necessarily in adulthood, but you might, if you ever did want it, you might want it in very early life. We know astragalus increases height velocity in humans. In Korea, it's given as a treatment, but we also know that there's this telomerase activity. So I wanted to mention these two supplements in case you have a child or thinking of having a child and want them in early life, like the first 5 years, to grow up to their full potential. We'll hopefully make more videos on this in the future. There are a lot of different supplements that could be useful for children, but I think astragalus specifically is more useful earlier in life than later, because more of a benefit to cost ratio. So really quick, the takeaways: 10 milligrams of zinc supplementation in children increases their IGF-1 more than higher doses. I know this is very mysterious. I would like to find out the exact reason, but this is consistently shown. Longer durations do as well. Zinc picolinate is a good option. You can find that online easily on Amazon. Regarding astragalus extract, 1 gram or so, it should be enough to create this growth velocity in children. So a lot of bodybuilders take like 15 grams or more than that. You don't need such a high dose. It may be something like 500 milligrams to 1,000 milligrams or 1,500 should be enough to create a significant difference. I hope this is helpful for you guys. We want our children to grow better than we did and to have more opportunities than we did. And if I had this when I was younger, I would have had more opportunities for sure.